Hey guys, welcome back to Cadence RC. Hey, so today, I've been trying to think of things that I can talk about, and obviously, being a relatively new driver, tech advice is something that I can't necessarily give a ton of, but I do have things to offer. And one of the things I was kind of thinking about today, and a topic that I've talked about in previous videos, but haven't done anything specifically for, is Camber Gain. And so today, I'm going to do my best to kind of show you guys what I know about Camber Gain and maybe demystify what's happening with that a little bit for you guys. But yeah, kind of explain it in the best way that I know how. So Camber Gain, of course, is the amount of camber. So I'm just going to kind of move this back. And I've actually got a second camera. Let's see here. I'm going to look at this. See if I can decide the best way that I want to handle showing you guys this. So I'll probably switch to camera 2. So Camber Gain is, I'm going to move this. It's always interesting trying to come up with how these videos are going to work. So there we go. Now I kind of got some light on the subject. Let me just double check this. So Camber Gain is if I show you kind of like this, and I'll show you on the car, but as you compress the car down, right, you can adjust how much gain your camber gain. So camber, of course, is the angle that your wheels sit, and I'm going to show you this on the back of the car, but obviously this is something you do on the front of the car as well. But it's going to adjust how much gain it gets. So as your suspension compresses, your tires are going to move in and out, or you can actually set it up so there's no camber gain, and so you could actually make it so it goes the other way depending on how what your car is and how it can be set up. But so it's just switching over to camera 2 here. Let's make sure this is actually recording. Video start. There we go. So I'm going to just show you kind of compression. Naturally, that battery's low. I actually made both sides of this car the same. So as far as the static camber, one thing to remind you guys, always do all of your setups with the battery in the car. I don't have this car on, but I also like to do all of my setup with the car on, just because it helps to kind of settle things and make sure that your steering's truly straight. Obviously, trying to, whatever trick you like to use, I like to roll. As far as finding your height is super important. But so this car I have set up with different camber gain on each side of the car, but our static, so just as it sits right now, is the same. But so as I compress the car down, and I'm gonna set this angle finder at 0 degrees. And I'm this way, and I'm just kind of monitor this as I do this. So as I compress the car, you can't see that edge. So as I compress the car, we're going to get, right now we're sitting with a little gap because I've got it set at about 1 degree of static camber. As we compress it, we're going to see that gap, gets larger, right? And so that's our camber gain happening in real time. And then if we do this same thing on the other side, can't see it. So we got the static camber, and then as we push it, that camber gain is going to be different, right? And so you can adjust that by shortening and lengthening. I'm just going to come back to the main camera here. I'm going to kill this one for a sec. So on our So these arms, these upper arms, we can adjust the length of these by using the different holes. This car has actually a lot of positions, 9 on the hub, plus I think there's 3 on the block here as far as changing the length of this arm. And so if you look at how many threads I have out on this arm, you can see there's quite a bit more thread visible. So this arm is much longer than this one, which is going to change the amount of camber gain that we get. We're actually going to get more. We're actually getting, that's funny. I'm actually questioning myself right now as far as which one's giving me more camber gain. It should be the shorter one's giving you more. Yeah, shorter one's giving you more. Like I said, a new guy. But yeah, so shortening the arm gives you more camber gain. So more gain, more camber. So like right now when I compress this down, it's like 7 degrees. When I compress it down on the other side, it's like 5 degrees. So not a huge difference, but there's a significant difference. And that's important as we're setting up the cars. And this is why. So the reason that we're adjusting our camber gain is we want to adjust how much camber. So obviously our static camber is going to be as we're running down a straightaway, and we want to have a fairly flat tire, not necessarily perfectly flat. You're going to generally see people running cars between 1 degree and 2 degree as far as the static camber for running down that straightaway to keep the car from being wacky and doing crazy stuff when we're driving down that straightaway. But we want to, and then we want to maximize and take advantage of camber gain so that when we're coming through the corners as our suspension compresses, that we're still maintaining as much grip as we can. And you know, especially in oval, we're gonna do that differently based on the conditions of the track that we're racing. I wish I had a good oval car to be able to show you, but my good oval car I have out on loan to a friend right now, so that he could so that he could do some racing in a class that he stepped up to, a class that he'd never done before. So I'm going to switch back over to this camera, and so oh, that's funny. I guess this one's been recording that whole time. I'll probably knock a little off of that. So I've got you back on this second camera. And so what I want to show here, so camber, the reason that we're going to do this, and I'm going to do my best to get our angles, and I'm going to get my angle finder here and hold this up and hopefully get to where you guys can see. So yeah, you can see that camber gain, right? Because we push it down and we get a gap, right? And so so that camber gain, see, if we're acting like we're simulating a turn, we're not expecting this car to go full compression, right? That's actually going into positive camber. But we want this as we're coming through the corners, and as we're watching. It's hard to watch our own cars, but as we're watching the cars go through the corner, we want this to end up somewhere near zero, right? So that we're maximizing our traction, or maybe even that 1 degree like we had before. So generally, like outdoor, I think we're starting. I want to say it was like around 7 degrees is where I've been kind of liking as far as my camber gain, to get the amount of degrees that I'm after from the car. And let's just do a little more angle here, try and get where we can see that. So we can see, we can see that camber gain. And then as we roll, though, so we're going to act like we're rolling that suspension. We want that to be somewhere near zero. And so that's kind of hopefully just a really basic way to show what camber gain is. And still stop that one because that battery's almost dead. But to kind of just, hopefully in the most layman terms possible, explain what's happening with camber gain, what it is, and why we would adjust it. So just to kind of give you an idea, like I said, I was talking about running the oval cars, and that's where I have my most experience with camber gain. And I wish, in the off-road world, my camber knowledge for what I need is relatively limited, because I have not raced that very often, so I just don't have that much knowledge, and so as I gain, I'll do my best to share things with you guys, just like I have. But in the oval world, I'm actually pretty knowledgeable on what I want from the car, and so I actually, when I'm setting up my cars, I'm going to start out with if I'm running like a very serious car that I can adjust everything on, I'm going to start that car again, with like a 1 or 2 degree as my static camber. And then I'm going to want that thing to as I'm coming into the corner, and when that thing's settling in, I like a really aggressive car at this point. If I've got good high grip, I'm going to actually get that thing set up so that it's as close to zero as it possibly can. And I'll actually go through and I'll put ink on my treads or my surface of my tire, and I'll do laps and I'll see how my scrub is on that tire to try and get it the most flat as I possibly can, just to maximize grip. And you want to keep, like with oval, you want that car ultimately to stay relatively level. You're going to have settle at where the car is going to roll, right? And you want that car to settle as little, you want that car to settle to a relatively static point where it's where your suspension still exists, because like I've talked about in other videos where you're going to get a rollover because you ran out of suspension. So that's super important. And then having that camber, or having the camber gain set to a point where when it rolls in, I'm going to have the right amount of traction for the surface that I'm running on. And like say, if I'm running, like when I'm running a real high grip surface, I'm going to want that like 1 degree or 0 degrees on the outside. I might put a little extra slip on the inside, and that's how I like it. It's a pretty edgy car. It's hard. It can be a lot to drive for somebody with less experience. I'm generally going to say leave that with camber, negative camber, at about 2 degrees on your setup as far as oval to get yourself started, and then kind of grow from there. And like I say, you're going to find what you like as a driver as you practice and make these kinds of adjustments. But again, hopefully that'll kind of maybe demystify a little bit of what camber gain actually is, and make your racing experience the best that it can be. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching my videos, and please like and subscribe. It does really help. My channel is starting to, is seeing growth. I'm actually close to the point of being able to monetize and maybe start making myself 90 cents a year off making these videos, because I can tell you that it's a lot of work, and it's fun. I actually love doing it, but it is a lot of work. So anyway, thanks again, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.